Is Jon Jones a fucking pussy? And will fans be able to stay up long enough to watch Belal Muhammad get knocked out by Leon Edwards? Before we get into that, though, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So, for those living under a rock, Dana White has announced the main card for UFC 304. And it's a very, very good card. Apart from the main event, I'm very, very much not interested. It's Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards. But Mark, do you think the UK fans will be able to stay awake at 6 o'clock watching Belal Muhammad fight?
Well, it speaks volumes, doesn't it, that they put him on last, because that kind of rounds the evening up nicely when everyone can tuck into the beds after a Belal Muhammad fight. It's on at normal time for us anyway, and whenever Belal is the main event, I don't know if people have even bothered tuning in there. They might just watch the co-main for our boy Tommy Aspinall getting a first round knockout and then just scoot off to bed. Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards 2, it needed to happen, but
Yeah.
just not on this card, please.
I know. That's the thing. I think it's okay as a fight, like it's a fight that needed to happen, like you said. But it's so hard to be interested, isn't it? It's so hard to be invested in this fight. But even though I'm not excited about it, and clearly you're not either, are you glad it's been finally announced? Because Leon Edwards has not fought since what, December last year? Was it November when he fought
Colby
Colby?
Covington.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Leon needs to be more active. And look, we can go through all that thing of, yeah, well, they were offered 3 fighters. And you're like, yeah, but look, Ramadan don't last 12 months. It don't, does it? You know, like, it just needs to be more active, I think. This fight needed to happen. I'm glad to see it. It's almost one of them. I want to know the result of it without having to endure 25 minutes of watching it. You know, because this fight does need to happen. And as much as we don't like tuning in for Belal, he does deserve the title shot. And he is the number
100%.
one clear contender right now. Leon, I think he needs to get a bit more active. Maybe it'd get him a bit more fans as well. Bigger fan base. He's the British champion and no one cares. There's the odd, you know, like maybe both of his fans will turn up to the actual event. But other than that, like, who's really that bothered? It's almost like, who's the welterweight champion again? Is it Usman? No. Oh, Leon. Yeah, of course it was Leon. He's known for that one knockout. I mean, that's probably a very unpopular opinion, but I just can't get behind him as a fan.
No, you're so right. And then when you said, "Oh, is Usman still the champion?" That's the thing, isn't it? When you're stepping next from such a great champion like Kamaru Usman, people talk about him as one of the best welterweights of all time. You know, when that excellent run, super active, fought what 2, 3 times a year, and now we've got a guy who's got next to no charisma, not particularly interesting, and very rarely fights. And it's hard to get behind him because I want to get behind Leon. I really, really do. You know what I'm like. If anyone's got a hint of British, I love them. Like, look at Makayev, you know, he's not even from England. I'm like, yeah, come on, do you know what I mean? I just go for it.
Yeah.
So I want to like Leon, and I just wish he'd be more active and just be a bit more charismatic, you know?
I mean, straight after the knockout on Usman, you know, the headshot dead, all that kind of stuff. You can't fault that, from the corner talk to the actual knockout itself to his post-fight interview. It was fantastic. Now, obviously, he can't pull them out of his arse every single time he
No.
fights, but at the same time, he's just so dull, isn't he? You know, like his last performance, that was Colby's fault. I've fallen out with Colby big time, which I'm sure he'll be
Me
devastated over.
too.
But you know, like, Leon didn't put on a spectacular performance himself, did he? It wasn't exactly like, oh, absolute domination. And it wasn't domination on his part, or it wasn't that one-sided on his part. It was due to Colby doing nothing.
Yeah.
So you're like, with Colby doing nothing, and it still took you that long to get things going for you, you're like, come on, he's the champion. Let us be proud of you.
I know, definitely. That's the thing. And I felt with that fight, Leon won for sure, obviously. But I felt like if he'd just stepped his foot on the gas, he could have won quite easily. You know, it felt like he could have got, maybe even got a finish. I was like, what's going on here? It's just such a dull fight. And we waited so long for it. And now we're waiting again for what's likely going to be another lackluster fight. But Mark, what's your super, super early predictions for Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards?
Super early prediction. I'm probably going to go Leon by decision. To be honest, I don't know if Belal Muhammad's going to be able to lay and pray like he normally does. Leon's strong, you know, he's got a lot of striking abilities, fantastic striking. Belal does when he wants to, but I just think he's going to get pieced up. But if I'm if I'm truly honest, I think we might get another eye poke finish.
Edward Scissorhands coming out again and getting a finish.
Well, it's the only hope of making this fight entertaining, isn't it?
I think I'm gonna pick Leon by 4th round finish. I think in that first fight, we didn't see much, but we saw how much quicker Leon was, how better he was on the feet. And he's proved that he can grapple with the best, with Usman, with Colby. So I don't think Belal's going to be any problems for him. And I think in those championship rounds, we're going to see Belal fade away and Leon's going to start to pepper him up and get a TKO. But we'll have to wait and see, obviously. And then, Mark,
he's close to the fence there as well, so he can always use his old trick, grab hold of the fence and rain it down. That's what you want.
Cheating bastard. And then, Mark, in the co-main event, we have genuinely, I'd say, our favorite fighter right now. Tom Aspinall is fighting Curtis Blades in the fight that never was, or the fight that was 15 seconds, and he's defending the interim title. Mark, do you think it's ridiculous that Tom Aspinall is having to defend this interim title rather than fighting someone like Stipe or Jon Jones and unifying the belt?
I do. I do think it's ridiculous. Put it this way, Jon Jones has now surpassed Conor McGregor for the amount of days inactive as the champion, and they stripped Conor.
Yeah.
I'm no Conor fan, but at least that was the right thing to do. I think they should strip Jon, injury or no injury. Don't bother fighting this old firefighter. Let's get you back into the octagon and let's get you defending it. You've now defeated the purpose of the interim belt.
Yeah.
Having it defended, you're like, yeah, surely if you've got to defend an interim belt, you should be the champion.
100%, definitely. Why is the interim champion fighting the number one contender? It makes zero sense. It literally makes no sense. This should be for the unified belt, and it's getting a joke now. And I think it's showing how much of a coward Jon Jones is, right? He is ducking Tom Aspinall every chance he gets. He wants to fight Stipe, and then he said, if I get through Stipe, I want to fight Alex Pereira. It's like, come on, you little coward. Go in there, fight Tom Aspinall, show who you really are. I think it's just getting ridiculous now.
It's the only time you'll hear that someone wants to fight Stipe Miocic and Alex Pereira and still get called a coward.
Fair enough, yeah.
No, but I understand what you mean, though. It's almost like, look, I took 3 years off. I came back and fought Cyril Gane, who didn't want to show up. I'll take another year out. Granted, injury. Give him that. Right, okay, let's take that. Okay, because that was very close to the actual fight as well. And then you go, what? Is he just going to sit there and taking shots like he's taking aim at someone? Right, we'll do this. Tom, maybe he could actually beat me, like, convincingly. So maybe I won't go there. So if I just beat Stipe, I can ride off into the sunset if I want and still have my undefeated status. Not technically, I know what you're going to say, Dwain. I know what you're going to say. But he'll just ride off into the sunset. And you think, it will then become the fight that never was. Like, no, look, while both guys are active, get him in there. Forget about Stipe. Cut him from the roster. Let him do his firefighting job. I'm sure he's really good at it. And leave the fighting to the active champions, the ones who have actually got a win. The last time Stipe Miocic had a win, Alex Pereira wasn't even in the UFC.
Insane, isn't it? It's literally insane. And that's the thing. I mean, I loved watching Stipe fight, or should I say, I loved watching Stipe fight. Now he looks like he can barely walk. Tom Aspinall is the now. I don't want these old fighters. I want to see Jon Jones versus Aspinall. That's the only fight I want to see now in the heavyweight division. Like I've said before, I genuinely think this can be literally one of the biggest fights of all time. I'm talking Conor Khabib levels. I think it can be huge. And I think if the UFC gets this back in behind Aspinall, we can see something exciting here.
Absolutely, though. But with Tom Aspinall at the helm, though, Dwain, whatever happens, I believe, like you said, this could be the biggest fight ever. And imagine if Tom Aspinall beat Jon Jones. I think the British press would actually get behind a fighter for once. Man, we spoke about Leon Edwards earlier, right? Not having any charisma. Tom don't either, but it's the complete opposite. We love him to pieces. When I went to go see him, Michael Bisping and Paul Craig, literally, he just had to sit there and everyone were chanting for him, Tommy Aspinall. And he just sits there, doesn't it? So what did you do after you won the interim belt? Oh, I went on the school run. You're like, oh, wow, it's amazing. I start crying, you know what I mean? But it's just Tom Aspinall puts on exciting fights.
Yeah.
He will fight anyone in front of him. He's not cocky. He's not arrogant. He's a machine that will destroy everyone. And he's going to destroy Curtis Blades.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. Did you see that clip of Aspinall after he won the belt? He called his son and he said, "Oh, I'm the world champion. I'm the world champion." He goes, "All right, Dad. Do you want to see me colouring?" And I think
Good
that's
lad.
what people love about Tom so much. He's a good, honest person. He's a true martial artist. He's just everything that's right about the sport. And I've said it before, haven't we? It feels like the British press do not get behind UK fighters. Look at Michael Bisping. He won the title the same year Conor became a megastar. He should have been all over the news. We should have seen him on Lorraine Kelly, but nobody cared. He wasn't even on there.
Graham Norton, chat shows, everything.
And jokes aside, he genuinely should have been. Michael Bisping should be up there with like Tyson Fury, that sort of level of fighter in the UK. He should have that name value, and
It
unfortunately, he doesn't in the UK. And I think it's such a shame.
genuinely should be. He's like the trailblazer of UK MMA. Like you said, Lorraine Kelly, he should have been on, this morning with Holly Willoughby and maybe not Philip, but he should have been on the morning shows as well, showing his new shiny belt. But that's in the past. But I believe Tommy Aspinall can be that caliber. He can have that level of fame in the UK and probably worldwide as well. So glad when he won that interim belt because obviously fans across the world, they knew who he was. But when he finished Sergey, the scariest guy in the division, in what was it, just over a minute,
Something like that.
really cemented his name in there, put himself on the map straight away.
Mm. Do you think, though, Mac, if Tom gets through Curtis Blades and wins this rematch, do you think he'll have to defend the interim title again? Or do you think that'll be it? He'll call out Jon Jones, look, we're fighting, mate. This has got to happen. Or do you think this is just, like you said before, the fight that'll never happen? It's, we'll just miss out on it.
I don't think he'll have to defend it. I don't even think the UFC or Dana would have the face to say, go and defend the interim belt twice. I don't think they could get away with that. That'd just be ridiculous. You might as well put that interim belt in the bin.
Yeah.
And the good thing is about this, though, Dwayne, I actually don't think we're ever going to get to see Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. I'm rooting for it every step of the way, and I really do hope it does happen. But what I can imagine actually happening is that Tom gets so frustrated with the process that because he's already starting to, isn't he? He's already getting a little bit frustrated with the process, and he's calling out Jon. Look, you need to get more active. You need to do this. You need to do that, and we need to get this fight cemented. Tom's getting frustrated. The fans are getting frustrated, and the only ones who aren't are the Jon Jones nut huggers. I think I'm a fan of Jon Jones as well. I will just point out, but you can't. Let's call a spade a spade. This is frustrating. This is annoying and irritating.
It really is, isn't it? But while Mark's outside his hair, let's talk about someone else with hair. Paddy Pimblett, the man.
I was hoping I got away with that then, just slightly.
It was like, ooh.
Yeah.
But sort of while we're on the stardom and things like that, it's funny, isn't it? Paddy Pimblett, how quickly he sort of raised as a star, as a name. Like I know people who don't even watch MMA who know who Paddy Pimblett is. And I don't know what it is, but some girls seem to really fancy him. It's like I don't know why, but he seems to have that charisma. Whether you like him or not like him, whether you hate him or love him, no matter what, he's popular, isn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, the people who don't watch MMA but know who he is, they've probably just seen that video of his dog doing his shit, and he goes over to the neighbour's door. Like, my dog's done a shit. It's a really sloppy one. But like you say, love him or hate him, Paddy Pimblett is back and he's fighting Bobby Green on this card. That's a fight that I'm actually really interested in. What did you think when you got that announcement?
To be honest, I kind of expected it. I think it was the right opponent, right? Bobby Green's ranked, 15th? So that's the right step now for Paddy. He's got to move in now. He can't just be a big name forever. He now has to fight big names as well, or at least ranked opponents. And I think after he beat Tony Ferguson, a step like this, facing off against Bobby Green, I think it's ideal to push him into those rankings. But do you think Paddy Pimblett will be able to hang with Bobby Green? Because Bobby Green is an excellent striker. And we've seen Paddy Pimblett with his chin up in the air, his hands down, he's been clocked a lot.
I actually think we're going to see a lot more of Paddy's ground game in this fight. I think he's gonna know this. You know, he ain't ranked, but he ain't stupid.
No.
You know, like he knows the danger of the opponents that he's facing. Apart from maybe his debut in the UFC when he nearly got finished straight away, but you know, made adjustments and he ended up getting the finish himself. I'm excited the same as you. I'm glad to see that he's fighting a ranked opponent. People wanted to push him to the moon straight after his first win. And you think, why? He's getting the Sugar Sean treatment.
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley was a global superstar before he was even ranked because he's that exciting, because he's charismatic. He's got the character, he's got the persona, got the look, you know, the Paddy hair, that kind of thing. And you think, yeah, he can have all that, but he's still got to work his way up the rankings as if they're going to put out a fire of what they've got, a rising star, and put him against the champion just to get flatlined and ruin all that. No one gets that much of a free pass. Paddy Pimblett was a star before he was even in the UFC. But, you know, it's like putting Sean O'Malley had probably the perfect rise. And Paddy's
100%.
getting this now as well.
I think it's the right way to move up as a fighter. It doesn't matter that you've got this big name all of a sudden. You've got to be careful. You've got to move up. So look at Rosas Jr. You know, a lot of people were excited for him, and then he struggled as he stepped up, and I think he's going to keep struggling. Like, he's so young, and the UFC is not the place to learn. Right? It's really, really not. You are fighting killers. Some of, you know, literally the best fighters in the world. So you have to take it slowly. And I'm glad Paddy's taking it slowly. And I think this is the right move. And exactly like you said, this is going to be a very grapple heavy fight. I think he'll be foolish to try and stand with a clean, crisp boxer like Bobby Green. But Bobby's got some submissions under his belt as well, so he's no slouch on the ground. But I think Paddy's just got that youth behind him, that physical strength, and that grappling ability that'll probably get him the win in this
Got
fight.
that hunger as well, though, doesn't he?
Yeah,
You know, like a win for Bobby Green at this stage in his career, where would it really sit him? You know, honestly, but a win
almost
over
nowhere.
Bobby Green for Paddy, that can help skyrocket him straight into the rankings.
It really, really can, and then he'll be moving up to these bigger names, and we could see him fight for a title within the next couple of years. It really could happen, but we'll have to see how he does when he hits that top 10. And, you know, we've got other fighters on this fight, like my boy Arnold Allen, he's facing Giga, and we've got the British Dagestani himself, Mohamed Makayev, he's fighting Manel Kape. Overall, though, Mac, what do you think of this card? Do you think it's a good one?
I'm happy with it. But again, we watch with a closer eye, don't we? Well, the UK cards. So, you know, like you say, Arnold Allen, Makayev, we watch them closely. I'm Giga Chikadze as well. I hope I've said that right. Who Arnold's fighting.
Close.
Yeah, you matter. Oh, well, that's why you just said Giga.
Yeah.
But like with these fighters, you know, I actually think it's a great card all over. And if it was on at a perfect time, that's what I call a good Saturday night. Forget about Ant and Dec. They're gone. Let's have UFC 3 or 4 on at a good time. I'm hoping that there's too much of an upheaval that Dana has to alter the times. Ain't going to happen.
No,
And we're just
he's
going to be
not gonna
tired,
care.
boys. It's on at the usual time for us. It's going to ruin my Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to even be awake, but I'm so glad that the UFC is returning to the UK, and I genuinely cannot wait. Thank you everyone for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.